This is an envelope, and it shipped my brand new card that I'll be adding to my wallet, alongside a couple others totaling 3 new cards in the last 6 months. So in this video, we'll go over which cards I'm actively using so you get an idea on how to build your setup or strategy. And of course, unbox my card as well. Alright, so the first card is technically a new card and mimics the Freedom Flex, but isn't. It also has no annual fees, but you can't just go online and apply like you can any other card. And that's with my kind of new Chase Freedom card, the basic one, where the only ways to get this card is either be grandfathered in from a few years ago when they were still allowing applicants, or you product change from another Chase card, which is what I did a couple months ago, product changing down from the Chase Sapphire Preferred. But because I was doing a product change, there is no welcome bonus on the basic Freedom card. Essentially, this basic Freedom card has similar perks compared to the successor, the Freedom Flex, giving you 5% or 5 times back when you're spending on quarterly categories up to the $1,500 cap every quarter, after you manually go in every quarter to opt in, of course. And with Q2 this year, including Amazon.com, it's a pretty straightforward bonus given Amazon has pretty much anything you might need. In fact, just this last weekend, I went to a local drugstore to pick up some things, thinking that it would be pretty cheap, but turns out they priced their things like 25% more than Amazon.com, so there's no point getting it there instead. That said, now that I have the basic Freedom card, I technically have double the spending limit every quarter on those categories, which are the same for both cards. Meaning now in Q2, I'll have a total of $3,000 to spend on Amazon.com, meaning if I max that out at 5 times points, that's 15,000 points. But that's really all for the basic Freedom card, and it doesn't come with all the bells and whistles that the Freedom Flex card has, a card that I almost always keep in my wallet. Because I still think it's one of the best cards anyone can have, because getting 5% back on certain categories, especially broad ones, are rare even when you consider more expensive cards. You could compare it to the Freedom Unlimited, giving you 1.5% on everything versus 1, but I think it's more important to have 5% back in certain broad categories than 0.5% more on general spend, given you probably aren't spending a ton on these type of cards anyways. But on top of that, getting 3 times back at drugstores and dining is a nice touch too, especially since dining is such a wide category. I mean, getting multipliers for groceries would be awesome, but that's been a weak spot for Chase for quite a while now. The card does come with a slew of other benefits like DoorDash, Lyft, and Instacart, but personally I haven't found the need to use these perks on the card, given I've been using ones on the Sapphire Preferred card up until recently, especially since they have a lot of overlapping perks and benefits, but slightly better on the Preferred. That said, cell phone protection is a major one that most people would find useful, but given I don't personally pay for my phone, I haven't found the need for this protection. Oh, and the welcome bonus of $200 or 20,000 points after just $500 of spend in the first 3 months is always a great bonus, and one that you'll only qualify for if you haven't had the bonus in the last 24 months. But in general, and you'll see this for most of the cards I have, I think that Chase is the best issuer to have cards from, given they have great cards across a range of levels, all with great perks while earning you a lot of Chase points that you can redeem for a decent floor value of 1 cent per point when going through cashback, or 1.25 or 1.5 cents per point when you're booking through your Sapphire cards through the portal, or upwards of 2 cents per point when going through travel partners. There's a variety of great earning and redemption options for everyone. which is why I not only have personal Chase cards, 2 of the cards I got in the last 6 months are business cards, starting with the Chase Ink Unlimited card I got towards the end of last year. And to be honest, one of the big things about these business cards are the welcome bonuses. Because for a no annual fee card, you're getting 75,000 points after $6,000 of spend in the first 3 months, which is a much higher spend, but a much higher welcome bonus. In fact, during that period, there was an elevated 90,000 point offer, which makes it so much better. Especially because A, chase points are just awesome, and B, I basically depleted 2/3 of all my chase points booking 2 major trips for this year. A redemption on business class for 2 to Taiwan and Japan, and a redemption on business class for 3 going to Singapore, Korea, and Japan. So it's nice to start building up chase points again. Now, there's no black and white rule on whether you can qualify for business cards or not, but you don't need a formal business or a tax number. You're able to apply as a sole prop using your own SSN. If you have some sort of side business or income, mow lawns, flip items on eBay, or sell crafts on Etsy, all of those can count as a business. For me personally, at the time, I signed up with my own SSN as a sole prop, given I was starting to earn some income from this YouTube side business. And because this is a business card, although I'll need to be under 524 to apply and potentially get approved, it won't count towards your 524 count afterwards. Now, this card is pretty straightforward and acts as my alternative Chase Trifecta, replacing the Freedom Unlimited, given it has the 1.5 times points on all of my business spend, though no other bells and whistles. The more interesting card is actually one I got earlier this year, and it's the sibling card, which is the Chase Ink Cash card. Again, when I got this card earlier this year, it had an elevated 90,000 point offer, but currently sits at a respectable 75,000 points after 6K of spend in the first 3 months. But the key point about this card is that you'll get 5 times points when spending at office supply stores, as well as internet, cable, and phone services up to 25K, as well as 2 times back at gas stations and restaurants, also up to 25K. And similar to the Freedom cards, although these are marketed as percent cashback cards, you're actually going to get points instead, which you can then redeem for cashback or ask to combine your personal and business Chase accounts in order to transfer your points to other cards and redeem for outsized value. In my case, between these 2 cards, I've earned over 200,000 points between these offers, which I could then transfer to, say, a Chase Sapphire Preferred card in order to have more optimal redemptions. But now that I've moved on to using some other cards, the ink ones aren't in my day-to-day rotation. So I save them for purchases like equipment for my business, especially since they include purchase protection of 120 days or an extra year of warranty through their program. Alright, next up, no wallet is complete without a catch-all card. In fact, this is the best card for most people who want that little extra of perks when they travel without having to shell out a ton of money. And that's of course with my Capital One Venture X card. Unless something drastic changes, like some awesome new cards like the City Strata, it'll probably remain in my wallet for the foreseeable future. Given year after year, as long as you're using the 2 simple credits, you're coming out ahead. With the $300 of travel credit through their portal and $100 worth of miles each year, that's $400 of value, and with the $395 in annual fee, you're going to be positive $5 every year. And the Capital One travel portal is no slouch too, having perks like price protection on some flights, hotel price match to beat Expedia, or price match within the next 24 hours of booking. But even with the yearly benefits aside, the welcome bonus is quite strong, with 75,000 points after 4K of spend in the first 3 months. And because Capital One points transfer to similar programs like the Chase and American Express, notably Aeroplan, it's another program I can get more points in order to help my redemptions in the future. Though I could technically redeem Capital One points for travel at 1 cent per point, which is still a decent floor value. Now, because I have a couple travel cards, I don't leverage all the benefits that come with this amazing card, like the Priority Pass and the Plaza Premium Lounges, to cell phone protection and more. But Capital One lounges could be interesting as they continue to expand their presence. Also, don't forget perks like membership to the Cultivist, which gives you access to a nice list of museums around the world, something that could have saved me a good chunk of money had I known during my Europe trip. So for anyone who has the Venture X as their main travel or luxury card, it has an amazing set of benefits. But even if you don't use them all, purely the 2 major credits on the card every year can be enough to justify the card. At least it does for me. Because personally, my main travel and luxury card is the good old American Express Platinum card. The card that has probably given me the most value out of any card I've ever had. And here's exactly why. Every year, I'm able to leverage a few of the credits on the card to pay for the $695 annual fee, spending on things I probably would have spent on anyways. From the $200 in hotel credit, which I use for short trips or for Vegas, to the $200 of Uber cash that I use within like the first week every month, $200 in airline fee credit that I use to choose more premium seats on some domestic flights, $100 of Saks Fifth Avenue for holiday gifts, and $189 for Clear that helps speed up my airport process. That's already $889 every year in value, far exceeding the $695 in annual fees, meaning everything else about the card is like cherry on top, like the Marriott and Hilton Gold status, car rental status, trip insurance, and protections like return protection, which has saved me hundreds of dollars shopping online with ease. The only downside is when I got this card over 4 years ago, the welcome bonus was only 75,000 points, whereas now you can find offers as high as 150,000 points, which is double, and know if you're approved without a credit score impact. And because Amex points are second only to Chase, you can redeem through some amazing partners like Aeroplan and ANA for upwards of 2 cents per point with a decent amount of work. And notice how I didn't mention anything about the multipliers on the card, because I almost never spend on the card outside of credits, minimum spends, or Amex offers, given how poor these multipliers are. And of course, with their great customer service and ways of retaining their customers, they're a great company to have a card with. I just wish they would bring back their email concierge, because I really don't want to have to call in all the time. Now, before we get into the urgent envelope, I want to briefly mention another card that I got on top of the few we already mentioned. And that's the American Express Business Debit card I got when they had their elevated 60,000 point offer. I think it was great timing because I was setting up accounts for this YouTube business as well as having some payments like to my editor. So being able to get an extra 60,000 points is amazing. And at 2 cents per point, that's already over $1,200 of value in my books. Alright, so within the last 6 months, I've gotten new cards like the Ink Unlimited, Ink Cash, and if you count it, the Chase Freedom card and the Amex Business Debit card. That's a lot of cards, and probably a personal record in terms of how many new cards I've gotten in a short amount of time. But what's inside this envelope is the newest credit card I got just a couple of days ago. And some of you may already know what this card is, given the application process was pretty smooth, and I was able to ask them to expedite the card given I have some travels coming up. Though something new I found out is that with Chase cards, you can actually add them to your mobile wallets right away without getting the physical card. So you can already start spending with a card unless you have to fill in some form manually with the actual card number. Alright, so in this envelope, there's actually another smaller envelope which I've opened to black out some of the info already. And inside that, there's your typical notices like the cardholder agreement that you should of course read over, some info on why and how Chase uses your personal info if you want to read through that, as well as another notice that goes through the different APRs you have in your card member agreement, which in my case is about 22.74% in interest APR if I hold a balance, as well as the annual fee of $95 and some late fees if I have some late payments. But with any credit card, you really shouldn't have any late payments. But the main event is this one here that has your credit line, some other info, and if you unfold it, of course, the actual Chase credit card, which is the Chase Sapphire Preferred. And honestly, it's pretty shiny of a card and actually looks more modern than the old card I have, which has the old design, if you can see. Now go on and check out this video for all the reasons why I decided to get this card again, as well as all the other info on my credit score, my credit profile, and the whole application process. But essentially reason 1 is the welcome bonus is really attractive, offering 80,000 points after just 4K of spend in the first 3 months, which I in fact do qualify given my previous Sapphire bonus was over 5.5 years ago. And the minimum spend is definitely something I can hit given I have an international trip coming up in a couple months. Then 2, the category multipliers on this card are pretty solid, with 2 times on travel and 3 times on dining, which work even abroad, which will really help with my travels. And then of course, with my Chase point balance going up again, I want the ability to redeem my points for optimal value, like going through travel partners and redeeming for outsized value that way. And then because of all of that, this card is going straight into my wallet. Now, looking at the plan I put together up in this video, I think I'm pacing quite well. The Chase Sapphire Preferred was at or near the top of that list and has just been checked off the box, along with some business cards like the Ink Unlimited and Ink Cash. That said, the one major card I keep saying I'll apply for is the American Express Gold card. Time and time again, this card has been at the top of my list, but keeps getting bumped down with other amazing credit card offers. But with elevated offers going as high as 90,000 points and a couple $100s on top, those offers are pretty enticing. The other card I might consider is the Capital One Saver 1 to complete my duo with Adventure X, as well as great multipliers, a no annual fee card, and the Uber benefits. That said, if you made it this far, let me know down below which cards you've been getting and if it's been going according to your plan. Then head on over to this video for some awesome cards you're overlooking. See you over there.